Hello mathematicians, today our learning target is to solve one and two-step equations. So you can see here we are starting with a balanced hanger, and in order for this hanger to stay balanced we would need that to stay level. So whatever we do to one side of the hanger we also have to do to the other side of the hanger. My goal is to figure out what y has to be. In order to do that, I need y by itself. So I would cut off 5 from this side. If I do that, it will go unbalanced. So I also have to remove 5 from this side. Well, it had 11, so to find out what is left, I do 11 minus 5. That gets me 6. That tells me that y must equal 6. If I want to double check and make sure that I'm correct, I can substitute 6 in. Is 6 plus 5 the same as my original starting weight, 11? Yes, so I know that must be correct. Looking at 2, I have got 3 sets of y and on the left side, and over here on the right side a 5.1 or 5 1/10. In order to figure out how much one of those y's weighs, I'm going to need to split it into 3 equal groups. If I split this into 3 equal groups, I also have to split my 5.1 into 3 equal groups. When you do that, you get 1.7 in each group. So y has to be equal to 1.7. If I wanted to double check that, if I wasn't sure if I was correct, I could substitute in 1.7 for all of these y's, and then I could either add it up 3 times or multiply by 3 and make sure I get back to 5.1. So now I'm looking at number 3. Remember, we want to keep this hanger balanced, so whatever we do to one side we have to do to the other side. And I would like you to try solving when w and 1.3 more is equal to 2.7. What does w have to be? Pause the video and then come back when you are ready to see what the answer is. Alright, hopefully you recognize that we have to cut off this 1.3, and if we do that from the left side, we also have to do that from the right side. And when you have 2.7 and you cut off 1.3, that leaves you with 1.4. W is equal to 1.4. When you are solving these as one-step equations, you could think of it as w plus 1.3 equals 2.7. And last year you worked on solving these where you drew the line, and then we said, okay, what's happening to w? We just do the opposite. Since I was adding 1.3, I will subtract 1.3. Okay, let's do our fourth problem. We have 2 sets of x equal to 14.62. So I want you to figure out what one set of x must be. Pause the video here, figure it out, then come back. Alright, hopefully you realized we've got to divide this into 2 equal pieces, and if we do that, we have to divide that into 2 equal pieces. And 14.62 would be 7.31 and 7.31, so x is equal to 7.31. In terms of a one-step equation, this would look like 2x equals 14.62. Draw our line through our equal sign. We know that 2 and x next to each other means multiplication. So to undo multiplying, we would divide, because those will cancel out and make 1. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. And x is equal to 7.31. So far, we have just reviewed from 6th grade that when we are solving a one-step equation, we just do the opposite operation. So number 5 looks a little different. Now we have 2 z's and a 6, and that's equal to 14. So I want to find out what 1 z would look like. The very first thing I'm going to want to do is take off this 6. If I do that on the left side, I have to do it to the right side. So I can see once I remove those 6's, I'm left with 2 z's, and then this has to be 8 because 8 plus 6 gets me to 14. If 2z is equal to 8, I can cut it in half. Let's go ahead and pick a color. And get 4 and 4. So 1z must be equal to 4. If we were to look at that in terms of an equation, that would look like this. 2z plus 6 equals 14. What was the very first thing we did? We cut off that 6 at the bottom. And that told us that 2z's must be equal to 8. Then this looks like a regular one-step equation from last year. We undo multiplication with division. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that gets us 1z must equal 4. Problem number 6, we have 6.8 is equal to 2z's again, and a 2.2. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of this 2.2, but we got to keep it balanced. So whatever I do, I remove over here. Take away 2.2, and that gets me 4.6. Now, in terms of our equation, that looks like this. 6.8 equals 2z plus 2.2. What did we do? Well, we took 2.2 off. Now I know that 2z's are equal to 4.6, so I'm going to cut this in half, which means I cut that in half. So I would divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, I get a z. 4.6 divided by 2 is 2.3. Z is equal to 2.3. If I wanted to make sure I was correct, I could go back just like at the beginning and plug in a 2.3 here and make sure that all of this adds up to the original 6.8. All right, number 7, we have 2 y's and a 10, and that makes 31. So I would like you to please solve it out. Try to figure out if you can find out what 1 y is equal to. Go ahead and press pause, solve that, and come back when you're ready to see. All right, so looking at our hanger, the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this 10 at the bottom. And if I get rid of 10 here, I get rid of 10 here, which means this becomes 21. Those are gone. So 2 y's are equal to 21 on our equation. Now I need to cut that in half, which means this will be 10.5. And that will be 10.5. If I divide these by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's 1 y. 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. Okay, I'd like you to solve number 8. That tells us we have 7 equals 1, 2, 3 x's plus 1. So I want you to pause the video, solve that, come back and see how you did. First things first, we know we need to get rid of that 1 at the bottom. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. That tells me that 6 is equal to 3 x's. We're going to chop it into 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. And I know 6 divided into 3 equal pieces is equal to 2. So x must be equal to 2. All right, 9 looks a little different. I've got my shapes are mixed up on the side of my x. So this is where we would look at it in terms of groups. I've got 1, 2, 3 groups. And in that group is x plus 2. The whole thing is equal to 18. I've got 2 ways to solve this. I can try seeing what one group is equal to and solve from there, or I can regroup everything and put all my x's together and all my 2's together and then solve for x that way. We're going to do both, okay? The first one is if 3 groups are equal to 18, let's find out what one group is equal to. I know that if I take 18 and I cut it into 3 equal pieces, I will get 6. So we're just dividing by 3. And that tells me x plus 2 is equal to 6. And then I can remove, let's focus just on this one group. I can remove 2 from this side, which means I need to remove 2 from this side. 6 minus 2 gets me 4. That's one way. The other way is to distribute it out. 3 times x, well, how many x's do I have? 3. Plus, I've got 2, 4, 6. 3 sets of 2 make 6. And now I'm going to solve it just like I did with the other hangers. The first thing we did was get rid of whatever was added to the bottom of the hanger. So we're going to get rid of that 6. Now I've got 3 sets of x's equal to 12. I'm going to divide by 3. X is equal to 4. It doesn't matter which way you solve it, both will work. Okay? Number 10 is a similar problem. I've got 2 groups, and in that group is x plus 5, and that is equal to 16. So first let's find out what one group is equal to. Well, half of 16 is 8. And then I can just cut off that bottom weight. But if I cut 5 off here, I got to cut 5 off here. X is equal to 3. Okay? Or I can distribute. I can figure out how many x's and how many regular constants there are. I've got 2 x's. And then 5 plus 5 makes 10 equals 16. Just like we did before, we undid what was tacked on to the end. We undid our subtraction and addition. So we undo plus 10. That gets us 2x is equal to 6. Then we just divide. Since those are being multiplied, we undo it with division. We got x equals 3. Number 11 looks scary, but it's not scary. It doesn't have to freak you out because you got big numbers. It's okay. We've got a calculator, we can handle it. So the first thing we're going to do is write out our expression. How many groups do we have? 3. What's in that group? Y and 200. All 3 groups are equal to 3,000. So now let's find out what one group is equal to. If I take my 3,000 and I split it up 3 ways, each group is equal to 1,000. Divide by 3, divide by 3. One group of y plus 200 equals 1,000. So now it's a one-step equation. We're just going to do the opposite of adding 200. Y is equal to 800. Now let's try it with distributive property. We need to multiply, multiply. So that gets us, how many y's do we have? 3. 3 times y is 3y. And then 3 times 200, well, I've got 200, 400, 600. And that's still equal to 3,000. Subtract my 600. y is going to be equal to 2,400. Y, all those cancel out, and we subtracted that over there. If 3 y's are equal to 2,400, we divide by 3 to figure out what 1 y must be equal to. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Y is equal to 800. Either way, you get the same answer. Number 12, we have 20.8, and that is equal to how many sets? 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of z plus 1.1. So you've got a choice to make. Are you going to distribute and solve it like a regular hanger before, or are you going to chop it up and divide it? It is up to you. You pick whichever method you want, pause the video, and then come back to see if you are correct. So I'm going to divide everything by 4. And that gets me 5.2 on the left side. And z plus 1.1 on the right side. How do I undo adding 1.1? I subtract 1.1. That gets me z. And that gets me 4.1. So z is equal to 4.1. Could we also distribute? Absolutely. 4 times z is 4z, which I know because 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 times 1.1 is 4.4. If I wasn't sure, could I add up 1.1, 1.1, 1.1, 1.1? Absolutely. And that's equal to 20.8. On our previous hanger, we always snipped off that extra weight that was added to the end. So we subtract our 4.4, undo our addition and subtraction. We do 20.8 minus 4.4. That gets us 16.4. 4 z's are equal to 16.4. So to undo that, I would divide by 4. Guess what I get? 4.1. And our very last problem, it's got fractions. We don't need to freak out just because it has fractions. How many groups do we have? We've got 2 groups. What's in one group? W plus 2/3. What are those 2 groups equal to? 20 over 3. So now I need to decide, am I going to distribute or am I going to divide it out? Your choice. I want you to pause and then come back. So I have started just by chopping it in equal groups, just like I did before. I divided 20/3 by 2, got 26, and then I'm going to subtract away that 2/3, because 2/3 minus 2/3 equals 0. That leaves me with a W. 26 minus 2/3. You can just plug that into a calculator, guys. This is not your non-calculator section. So use the tools that you have available. It's what mathematicians do. That gets me 2 and 2/3. There's my answer. Could you distribute and solve it that way? Absolutely. How many W's do we have? 2 of them. And then I've got 2/3 and 2/3. That makes 4/3. And it's still equal to our original starting amount of 20/3. So I'm going to take 20/3 and I'm going to subtract away 4/3. That's going to get me 16/3, or I can call it 5 1/3. So that's 2 W's still. Now to get rid of that 2, this is being multiplied, so I would divide by 2. And W equals 2 and 2/3. So I'd like you to please take some time, do your self-assessment, explain your rating, and do your reflection. What are our 3 key takeaways here?